Hallo Leute, willkommen zu Board and Savior. Reiner Knizia, need I say more? I probably should, right? The good doctor is the very definition of prolific. He is credited with the design of over 700 board games. 700! If you showed me like 700 grains of rice, I'd probably say something like, hey, add a little bit more rice to the pot. That's not enough for dinner. But if you showed me 700 board games, I definitely wouldn't guess that they were all designed by one guy. Some Reiner Knizia games are popular, beloved, and revered, like Ra, Modern Art, The Quest for El Dorado, and Zoo Vadis. Others, like Owl Solve That, I Am the Big One, and Yo, Monster Allergy, have received somewhat less attention.
Monster Allergy, oh, they make me sneeze.
With a catalog of games too large to fit inside my whole apartment, it's only natural to have one or two games lost to the annals of history. One such game is... Wait a second. What are you doing here? Shoo.
You have to kill it. It is a pale imitation.
What? No, the world is wide enough for both of you.
Kill it! Now, boy! Good. Now praise me.
Okay, so Callisto is a polyomino game that shares a lot of DNA with Blokus. The main difference between the two is piece placement. In Blokus, you'll place your tiles so that a corner touches another corner of one of your tiles. In Callisto, it's a little more straightforward. You'll place your piece so that it touches at least one of the sides of your existing pieces. That change may sound slight, but I personally feel like Callisto and Blokus play totally differently. For one, just look at the boards. Blokus's is a clean slate, ready for you and your chums to splatter with your colors. Callisto, on the other hand, has these three colors. The white area is where you can play anything, your columns or your pieces. For 2 and 3 players, this dark blue area on the outside tells you where you're not allowed to play anything, and all of the boards have this light blue central area where you can play your pieces but not your columns. What is a column, you scream, and a glob of spittle flies from your mouth, hits me on the cheek, and I have to wipe it off and say, could you please use your inside voice? Columns are your starting positions in Callisto. In Blokus, everyone will start out in one of the 4 corners of the board. In Callisto, the first 2 turns of the game see everyone placing out 2 of their columns. These act as the first territories claimed, and all future pieces placed will grow outward from those columns. You also keep 1 column in your reserve, which you can deploy on a later turn to grant you access to new areas of the board. When all players are unable to place another piece, either because they've run out of pieces or they've run out of legal places to place their pieces, the game will end, and that is true in both Callisto and Blokus. And actually, scoring is the same too. Just count up the number of spots or squares in your inventory, and the player with the least spots or squares wins. That's all the rules. Blokus gives you a short rulebook, and Callisto manages to fit all of its rules onto one single-sided sheet of paper. A very impressive feat, if you ask me. For me, Callisto is the clear winner between these 2 games. Blokus has a few things going for it, no question, but Callisto is just a good deal more fun. What are Blokus' strengths?
Don't you dare.
I gotta. Okay, I'll talk about your strengths right after, and I promise I'll be way nicer to you, okay?
Fine, he's dead anyway.
The 2 ways that Blokus corners the market, don't think too hard about that pun, just be impressed that I worked a corner joke in at all, are in sneakiness and aesthetics. The corner-to-corner mechanism allows you to squeeze into much tighter spots than you thought possible, and it's always fun to figure out a way to stay alive when everybody else around the table was sure that you were toast. Blokus also undeniably looks a lot nicer than Callisto. The bright, clear plastic is super striking, and the pieces all slot onto the board very satisfyingly.
Now me?
Yes, now you. Blokus does get competitive, but it takes a little while. Callisto is a knife fight in a phone booth right away, thanks to the different board sizes depending on the player count. I find the funnest part of these games to be trying to box people out of certain areas while trying to avoid being boxed out in others. In Callisto, this happens within 2 moves. In Blokus, it takes like 6 or 7 moves for piece placement to start really feeling like it matters. This makes Callisto feel more tense for a bigger portion of its playtime, and I think that's the whole appeal. Also, the column mechanism is very fun. Choosing your starting location is just more interesting than always starting in the corners, and having that third column as a get-out-of-jail-free card ensures that games stay relatively close. Callisto also has a better playtime than Blokus. Blokus takes maybe 3 to 5 minutes more than Callisto, and that doesn't sound like much, but I think it just barely overstays its welcome.
Good. What else?
I mean, really not much. Like, this isn't a game that everyone needs to have in their collection, but it's one that I think most people would enjoy. It is unfortunately out of print, but if you spot it at a thrift store or a garage sale, I think it's absolutely worth a look. This game has a special place in my heart. It's one of the first non-sorry, non-Monopoly board games that I ever played. I spent a few years tracking it down, and I'm really glad that I did. It's got the perfect amount of cutthroatiness and meanness, but it never gets too rough for any player because it's over so fast. And finally, something that I have to mention, thank you so much, Dr. Knizia, for making it so that you can play the same rule set with 2, 3, or 4 players. Blokus makes you control 2 colors each if you're playing 2-player, and it does this really weird thing where all players collectively control the 4th color in a 3-player game. It's very odd, and it's much cleaner to just have different board sizes like in Callisto.
Buy another copy of Blokus. I want to see it die again.
What is your deal, man?
What?
You're like a bloodthirsty board game. Like, what is this? Where's this coming from?
I don't know. I guess there was some bullying in my childhood. Maybe this is my way of taking back my agency.
Really, honestly, I think you should go see a therapist.
I get it. When I said I want to see it die again, I heard it. You know, like that was too much.
And that'll about do it for this week's Board and Savior episode. Aside from the box's frankly concerning homicidal urges, I am giving Callisto an 8 out of 10. And leave a comment below. If one of your board games came to life, which one do you think would be the most dangerous?
And subscribe, or else.
No! Not or else. Subscribe if you had a good time. You freaking freak. Jeez. Bye.